You see that this group only has 4 sets of athletes. For people that may not have seen the announcement yesterday, the women's 62 kilogram world silver medalist Kayla Miracle has taken an extension on her series against Jennifer Rogers. The site and date of that extended series is going to be announced at a later date. But that's within her rights as a world medalist who had a final X free pass in the rules of the World Team Trials. And so with this group, which was originally going to be 10 athletes, we've got 4 weight classes. We do have 1 athlete who's not here yet, so we'll probably skip your weight for a while, Felicity. We had a situation in Stillwater where we had a travel issue. One of the athletes was still on an airplane somewhere because of issues. So do appreciate everyone who's here, and certainly we're going to give Dom a little chance to get here because we'd love to have her part of the press conference. At this point, just a little bit about how we're going to conduct this. Our format will, I'll introduce each weight class, and then I will ask 1 question for each athlete, and I'll go through the 4 weight classes in this segment. Once I'm done with my questions, we will open it up to questions from the media. I've got a volunteer who's going to help me again and hand out the microphone. If you have a question, raise your hand. Please indicate who you are, what your media outlet is, and then address the athlete. We've got handheld microphones. They'll pass them around to each other, and we'll go from there. And then at the end, we're going to split it up into one-on-one opportunities after we're done with the formal press conference and media questions. Athletes, you could stay up here, or the media member may ask you to move to another portion of this room for questions. We will go 45 minutes, and then after 45 minutes, we'll ask the athletes to go get a tour of the gym where they'll be wrestling, working out, doing interviews, the location. You'll get a venue preview from the Beat the Street staff. So we'll mention that at the end of the interview time. So at this point, though, I'd like to introduce Beat the Street's Executive Director, Brendan Buckley, to talk a little bit about the fundraising activity we're doing as part of this event, about Beat the Streets, and about the athletes who are involved in the program. And Brendan, appreciate you giving everyone a briefing.
Thanks, Gary. It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome all of you for what's a momentous occasion, great opportunity, I know, for everyone to compete to earn a spot on the U.S. World Team. And Beat the Streets is really honored to be providing this opportunity for everybody here in New York City. Just an electric atmosphere. We were here in 2019 and sold out the theater, and it's really quite a spectacle. All the tech here and the lights and the crowd, it's a real intimate atmosphere, and so I think everybody will be really happy and feel good to be competing in such a great arena. I want to thank our partners, USA Wrestling, Flow Wrestling, MSG, and Hulu for hosting us. And certainly, this is our annual benefit, so we've done some really unique events here. We've competed on the USS Intrepid, which is an aircraft carrier here in the Hudson River. We've competed on the South Street Seaport over with the Brooklyn Bridge in the back as a backdrop, Times Square numerous times, Grand Central, and this will be our 2nd time here at Hulu Theater. So this event, all the funds that we raise with our donors and the fans who are purchasing tickets, it all goes to support the mission of Beat the Streets. So we work with up to 2,500 student athletes in all 5 boroughs of New York City. We pay for them to go to competitions, camps. We run a middle school league. We have a program that works with kids off the mat to help them get prepared for college and provide academic support, college visits. So this event is really important for Beat the Streets. And again, we're honored to be able to do it in tandem with such a terrific event here in Final X. So wish everybody the best. And if there's anything we can do to make the event better, just let us know.
Does anyone have any questions for Brendan? Thanks, Brendan. So we're going to start our questions with 67 kilograms in Greco-Roman. Alejandro Sancho against Alston Nutter. And I'll speak first with Alex. Alex, you were able to compete in the Tokyo Olympics last year, and now you have a chance to go and make your first senior world team. Could you talk a little bit about the progress you've made in the last year or two, where you now have opportunities to represent the United States and to compete against the world's best, and what things are going well with your wrestling and training?
Well, it won't be the first opportunity. I competed at the Olympics, didn't do well there, and then I had a chance to compete the following year, but then I ended up taking second. I think, I changed up my training, my mentality. I want to be the best, not only here in the United States, but I want to be the best in the World Championships as well, the Olympics. So, I just changed up, I just had to look at myself in the mirror and, just mature a little bit, grow as a person, and make this world team this year.
If there was one strength in your wrestling, what would you tell people you've really been able to master in Greco-Roman?
In Greco-Roman, I'm really good on my feet. I have a lot of moves I can do on my feet. I'm really good in parterre. I'm good at pushing people around. I'm good at maintaining, being in the circle. It's hard for me to get tired. That's pretty much it.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Alston, so right before COVID, 2019, you won a world medal in junior light division for the United States. Obviously, we all went through a period where we weren't doing a lot of wrestling, and you're here 2021, a shot at making a world team at the senior level. What's happened to you during that time since the junior world medal that you've been able to improve your game, and how did you keep yourself going to the point where now you may be able to go and compete at that senior world?
Just like growing and maturing, believing in myself and pushing every day. It comes down to my coaching. They push me every day, and winning that world medal and able to keep it rolling afterwards is a huge thing that's brought me to where I am today. So just pushing forward and believing in myself.
Now, you're from the great state of Wisconsin, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there are a lot of states that do well in Greco, and Wisconsin's one of them. Could you talk a little bit about the Greco culture among the wrestlers there, and the fact that people are still training there and still making teams and moving forward in their careers out of the state?
Well, it comes all the way back to the roots from Dennis Hall and some of the greats like that, and I think it's just a rich history of Greco in Wisconsin, and it's really cool that everybody still believes in it and really enjoys it and continues training it and pushing everyone to be the best there.
Thanks very much, man. We're going to skip over 53 women and move on to 60 kilogram Greco at this point. Dalton Roberts against Ildar Hafizov. Dalton, you trained in Northern Michigan, trained at the Olympic Training Center, and then joined Army WCAP. And we see this happen quite a bit, where two WCAP athletes end up fighting for a spot to take the senior world team. You and Ildar have wrestled in this kind of setting before. How do you get prepared to go against someone you train with, someone you know well, someone you love and respect, and still keep the edge you need to become the number one in the country?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Great question. It's not easy. We wrestle each other a lot. We could wrestle this match, last week in the practice room. It's not like there's a whole lot of hiding that you can do in the WCAP room. You're either going to get better or you're not going to stay long. I can see what he's doing in the practice room. He can see what I'm doing. We're just training last week with each other, so we know each other very well. Historically, we've gone 3 matches. So it's always going to be, you know, a gauntlet. We're going to run it once more, and we'll see how it goes.
And about your wrestling, obviously you put yourself in a good position with some of your victories this year. What's going right with your competition right now?
Yeah, it's been a good year. I was battling an injury. I had to pull out of the U.S. Open prematurely. You know, I've never done that before. I don't like doing that. But I think it was the right call, not trying to get hurt before a bigger competition like the World Team Trials or this. We've missed some opportunities. We couldn't go overseas, wrestle the Pan Ams. Couldn't go over to Croatia for, you know, multitude of different reasons. But we're here now, and everyone here with WCAP, we're hungry because we missed those opportunities, and we're looking to prove it tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Dalton. Appreciate it. Ildar, so you've been to the Olympics twice, multiple world championships, national titles, medals overseas. Could you talk a little bit about what motivates you to continue the hard training and the sacrifice, and enter these tough competitions, and what kind of goals do you have ahead of yourself, and, you know, this year and beyond?
Thank you. It's a great question. I think most importantly, my family pushes me, and my coaches, my teammates. Because when you walk into our wrestling room, you cannot not training. Watch those guys who practicing hard every day, grinding. You just cannot watch them and not doing anything. You know, it's hard. And every day I walk in without, like, if you have bad mood or something, you just need to walk into our wrestling room and watch those guys, and he will be falling in love and doing practice with them in 5 minutes. So future goals is, like always, medal overseas, need some medal from Worlds, and I think I'm still hungry for more wrestling. I'm just starting enjoying the process.
So you're sitting next to the man that won us a medal at the last World Championships, and clearly, when you make a world team, an Olympic team, you're pulling for your country, and you're also trying to build the sport of Greco in the United States. Could you talk a little bit about just that current set of athletes in Greco, and how you think the winners of Final X will do this year in Serbia?
So whoever wins tomorrow I think is fundamental for wrestling in general, and thank you, I appreciate you guys doing it here. So you promoting wrestling more, to like more popular in the United States, especially Greco. Like freestyle and folk style, everybody knows it, but Greco, like we need people to see it, you know. And what you guys doing is great. And tomorrow, whoever wins, I'm pretty sure we'll bring some medals.
Thanks a lot, Eldar. Appreciate you. Our next weight class, 97 kilogram in Greco-Roman, D'Angelo Hancock against Braxton Amos. This is a rematch of the Olympic trials, for those that may not know that. But, I'll start with D'Angelo. You know, for many years you've wrestled at the highest level in the world, beaten a lot of the best athletes, wins over medalists, champions. You broke through with a medal in Oslo. Talk about how that has helped you this year get prepared and maybe even change or improve your game so that perhaps the next time on the podium it's a gold.
Thank you, Gary. To be honest, you know, I think getting a medal maybe have opened my eyes. First and foremost, I'm extremely grateful to the community in the wrestling that I came across, no matter how small or how local they are. But I think I can speak from a place of genuine transparency after dedicating so many years of my life to this climb, that to be a Greco-Roman wrestler in America, it feels like to be a second-class citizen. You know, to put it simply, there's a lack of funding, there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of support that we have, and getting a medal hasn't changed that. And I think that's something that should be recognized. You know, I know that the argument loves to be had that Greco-Roman needs medals, and you know, just because of Ildar's speech, it's obviously on our minds. We're hungry for medals, right? But the fact of the matter is, how do you get such a great level of success without great levels of support, great levels of resources? So I believe that's the most important thing to take away from that. The only thing I've learned from my medal is that Greco needs more support. We got guys on our team who want to die for a medal. We don't have no support.
And for yourself, how's your training going into this competition?
My training is going phenomenal. I stay in peak shape. I'm thankful for Marcus for now. I'm not sure if many of you guys know this person, but that's who I train with out of a shed in Fountain, Colorado, where I was actually born. And that's the type of resources and support that I've had. So my training is phenomenal. We get by with what we got, and we're proud of that. And I think that there's a glory and there's a pride that comes with Greco-Roman wrestling, and that's about it. And I think that should be notified.
Thanks a lot, Angelo. Appreciate you. Braxton, so last year you went in the Olympic trials in 2 different styles, made the finals, went out and won some world medals for us at the junior level, and now you've been through your first full collegiate season. Could you talk a little bit about heading into Final X, where you are as far as in your Greco-Roman wrestling? Because obviously you've had a mix of experiences and quite a lot of wrestling since last April down in Texas. Can you talk a little bit about how your Greco's going right now?
Yeah, it's going great. I want to thank the Wisconsin RTC and UW and Sunkiss for all the support that they've given me in freestyle and Greco. Especially, the last couple weeks, my training partners have been there for me, making sure that I'm ready, making sure I have everything I need. Trent hopped off a plane Sunday night from U23s and hopped back on one Monday morning to make sure I'm ready for this. So it's been humbling to see the amount of support that the state of Wisconsin and USA Wrestling has put behind me to chase medals and to chase teams.
So for Paris, we're less than 2 years from the next Olympic trials. Are you going to make a run in both styles? Are you going to do one or the other? Have you decided? Do you even talk about it yet? Although it seems a while away, it really isn't. It's coming up.
Yeah, the ideas are getting thrown around right now, but it's kind of a year-by-year thing. We didn't know for sure what the plan was for this summer until, 5-6 weeks ago. I came into the room and asked Coach Bono, hey, what's your thoughts on me, making a run for the team this year? And, we had a conversation and decided, let's go all in on Greco this year and give it a shot.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Braxton.
Thank you.
We'll now return to our 53-kilogram women's match. I'm glad you were able to make it, Dom. Appreciate you.
Hi, sorry, first time in New York.
But no, tell me that. Is that true?
It is, yeah, it is true.
You didn't get on the wrong subway, did you?
Didn't get on any subway, but we got dropped off on the far side of Madison Square Garden, walked all the way around it, realized that we passed the entrance, and then walked back to it.
So they wouldn't do that in LA, would they?
I probably would do that in LA. I haven't spent much time in LA either.
Okay, well, no, I knew you were going to be here, so we just kind of skipped your way a little bit.
I just wanted to scare you a little bit.
Yeah, well, you did a good job. Well, at 53 kilograms in women, we have Felicity Taylor against Dominique Parish. Since I've already got Dominique talking, we're going to start with you this time, okay? You're a California athlete, wrestled in college in Canada, won a bunch of medals, and athlete of the year in women's wrestling. And you're down there in the sunshine in Phoenix, training with a real strong group of young women and men, obviously, too, for chasing your Olympic dreams. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on down there? What's good in that training situation, and how it's helped you get ready to maybe make this first senior world team?
I would say, the worst part about training down there is all of my partners suck. No one in that room is not decorated right. I feel like I'm a bit of the grunt sometimes, and I've always flourished in a room where I'm not the best person. It's easy to get better when you're constantly getting beat up on, because you can make small goals and meet them. If I'm going matches with Ellen and my goal is to get one takedown on her, and I get one takedown on her, it just inspires me to make bigger goals. And it's really easy to improve in a room when everyone in the room is better than you.
But your goal is to be the best in the world in your weight class, right?
Yeah, yes.
So, how do you feel you're doing right now in your preparation for this year to be a world champion?
I mean, I'm doing something right. I'm here, right? The last couple tournaments, I feel like I've really broken out and have been wrestling well, wrestling smart, and I think my conditioning through Neuroforce 1 and my training in the room has been very specific, very focused on my styles and the things that I need to work on, and I'm just feeling very confident going into this trials and then on to the tournaments after this.
Thanks a lot, Dom.
Thank you.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you.
I was born here. So.
You were born here?
Yeah.
You'll have to show me around.
I'll get one too, don't worry.
I heard the pizza and the hot dogs are good.
Yeah, I've already had a piece of pizza, so we're good.
That makes one of us.
So, our other competitor, 53 kilograms, Felicity Taylor. Felicity, this spring's been awesome for you. You know, you won the Open, you qualified for Final X, you're wrestling at a really high level. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on with your training and the partners and coaches and those that have helped you peak to give you a shot to make the world team here at Final X?
Yeah, well, my training's kind of been a little crazy. I mean, it's been scheduled, but a lot's kind of been going on this spring with my head coach transferring to Central Methodist University. So just trying to stay focused on the wrestling aspect and not let any of the outside stuff get to that. I was student teaching during the fall semester, so I feel like that is kind of where I realized I really wanted to be involved in this sport more and fell in love with the process. I took a step away from the team part and actually was working out with our assistant coach, Gabrielle Wyrich. So just kind of being away from the team made me fall in love with the sport again and realize that this is something I want to do as my career.
Now, you were real excited with your win. I'm trying to think which one, because you made a world team and age group level as well. If you're falling in love and it's fun, does that make a difference in scoring those points when you need it and finding the energy in a tough match? And are you feeling like different when you're out there competing because of your new approach mentally?
Yeah, definitely. Like my confidence has been up ever since I started to fall in love with it. I feel like I've been capable of what I've been doing lately. It's just finding the confidence to finally do it and believe in myself. So.
Thanks a lot, Felicity. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
At this point, we're going to have questions from the journalists. Got a handheld microphone, and someone who's going to help pass it along. Okay, we got another one. This guy's a wrestler, by the way, just so you know. I'm testing, see if it's working.
Test.
No. Give that a try.
Test.
There you go. Okay, so if you have a question, raise your hand, identify yourself and where you're from, ask which athlete the question, and you guys pass around the mics if you could to whoever gets a question. Go ahead, Ben.
Josh Smith representing the school of the New York Times. This is a question for Alston. Alston, you've lost both your matchups to Alejandro, with one of those losses coming as recently as 6 weeks ago. What have you done in the last 6 weeks to not only move forward, but to prepare yourself for a familiar opponent on an international stage?
Well, I've really put the nose to the grindstone, believed in myself, and I think it's time for a change. You know, my coaches have gotten behind me. Sun-Kissed Kids, Lucas Stout, Andy Bisick have really pushed me. So that was yesterday, and tomorrow's going to be a different story.
Next question.
Hi, Sydney Chan representing the School of the New York Times. I have a question for D'Angelo. Going off your point that Greco-Roman wrestling is less well known and underfunded, how do you think we as society can spread the word about the sport and get more youth participation ASAP?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking it. I think something that's very important is having RTCs that are Greco-friendly, right? There's a lot of RTCs out there that we know are freestyle ran. They're entirely, ran by freestyle wrestlers, and they're not Greco-friendly spaces, right? There's no Greco athletes in there, and if they are, they have to wrestle freestyle in order to get by, in order to work on freestylers' parterre defense, for example. which is something that I personally know from firsthand, being at the Olympic Training Center for 4 years, living there. We would intentionally, freestyle would come to our practices, we'd come to their practices, but it'd be an intentionally parterre-based practice where we were working on defense for freestyle wrestlers, as Greco is known for dominant parterre positionings. But to answer your question, it's making these Greco-friendly RTCs available for athletes, to letting people know that, hey, we're a place that teaches and trains Greco, and then now maybe athletes may, instead of seeing and shooting double legs, they'll see somebody in the corner getting thrown on their head, and they're like, what is that? Maybe I can try that. Because I know when I met TC Dansler as a 16-year-old kid, and he taught me a reverse lift, and it was a bomb, throwing somebody on their neck, I was like, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do that for the rest of, as far as I can see in the future.
Thank you. Another question?
Question for Dom and Felicity. Dom, you're from a state in California that was a pioneer for women's wrestling. Then Felicity, you came from Iowa that just sanctioned it recently. Just talk about maybe, Dom, what it was like to have a fully integrated state for women's wrestling, and then Felicity, the same thing, what it was like battling not having sanctioned women's wrestling until this year.
In California, when I wrestled, there was a state tournament for girls, but I was still wrestling mostly guy tournaments in high school. So for me, my experience was different than I'm sure Felicity's was. I had a high school team with a bunch of girls on it. My dad was the coach. I had a lot of support, and I think it really helped my wrestling because I never had to, well, that's not true, but I rarely felt like I didn't belong, and I think adding more states and state tournaments like in Iowa will help more girls get interested in the sport and stay in it when they don't have to think about, if I go to this tournament, is there going to be anyone for me to wrestle? If I go to this tournament, are they going to make me weigh in a closet in the back? Stuff like that.
Felicity?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think with Iowa sanctioning it, it should draw that to more women. Mine was a lot different than Dom's. I was on a team full of boys. I was the only girl on my team. I actually only competed against one girl my entire high school career. So other than going to freestyle tournaments like Fargo and stuff, I was all against guys. So it'll be nice to have that sanctioned for them. I'm really excited for them, and I think it'll really start to grow in Iowa.
And there's a lot of momentum in Iowa right now with the first Power 5 conference team in the state, and a lot of good things going on. Is that a state we need to watch out for?
Oh, for sure. Iowa's always a state you need to watch out for. So with Iowa, the university getting women's wrestling too, that's huge. Lots of good things going on in Iowa right now.
Thank you. Another question?
Question for Braxton. Talk about trying to juggle folk style season at Wisconsin and then having to ramp back up and change to a style that's very unsimilar to folk style.
Can you be more sorry?
Just explain how the training goes, where you have to do a whole folk style season in Wisconsin, and now you have to switch gears and go over to Greco.
Yeah. So we went through the entire folk style season. Never really thought about Greco until we came back from our little break, and I was wanting to compete, wanting to kind of prove to myself that I could win again, because the college season wasn't the best for me, and it was falling back in love with throwing guys on their heads, and it was kind of second nature as far as getting back into training. Lifting is lifting, in my opinion, wrestling's wrestling. So just getting in the room, being with my 25 to 30 best friends in the world, doing what we love every day. It's just kind of same stuff, different day.
I think we'll go one more question. Right over here, please.
This question is actually also for Braxton. You wrestled Angelo in the Olympic trials finals. Angelo won, went on the Olympic Games. He's won a world medal now. What did you learn from that experience? Where was Angelo particularly difficult for you? Where was he challenging you, and what do you think you've been able to address for this matchup tomorrow?
As far as what's changed, I mean, I'm not wrestling, 15 matches going into, the best of 3 series. I'm well rested, and I'm just bigger and stronger than I was, coming in. I mean, he's obviously a great wrestler, world bronze medalist. I guess we'll just see what happens. Not a whole lot's changed as far as technique or anything like that on my side. I'm just going to go out there and go for hopefully 18 minutes and see what happens.
Okay, I think at this time we're going to split up into one-on-one, so we can either speak to the athletes here, or some journalists may ask you to go to a different part of the room. We're going to do this for 15 minutes or so, and then at quarter of or so, we're going to have the athletes go on their last tour down to see exactly where they're going to wrestle and